So we have pretty much switched over all of our video editing to Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve, and a big reason for that is their collaboration features with Blackmagic Cloud. Figuring out the workflow and all of the different Blackmagic Cloud offerings was a little bit challenging. So in this video, I want to do a kind of thorough overview, deep dive of everything there is to know about Blackmagic Cloud. Here is what we're going to break down, and feel free to jump around to anything that might be of specific interest to you. We're going to break down Blackmagic's different cloud services and their different cloud offerings. It's a little bit a la carte, so we'll kind of break down what that goes into. And then I'll break down our workflow and how we've set up our collaboration inside Resolve with multiple editors. And I'll kind of give you some tips along the way of things that we learned and mistakes we made of how to set up the ideal workflow. Then I'll talk about some of the other Blackmagic Cloud features beyond just media storage and editing. Then we'll talk about Blackmagic's new organizations options. After that, we'll talk about Blackmagic's Cloud original hardware and where that fits into everything. And then we'll end this on a bit of a wish list / improvement list of things that I hope they address in the future to make Blackmagic Cloud better. All right, so let's jump into it. And one thing before we jump into this, I just want to frame this of how my team is working, just to give a perspective of what we're doing. We're all fully remote, so we don't have anyone in a physical office editing off of workstations. Everyone's completely remote, distributed. So that is the framework that I'm going into this with of how we're trying to set up our workflow. All right, so first up, let's break down all the different options inside Blackmagic Cloud, because there are a couple of different things that you can pay for with slightly different pricing on different subscriptions. All right, so the first one, and probably the easiest gateway into Blackmagic Cloud, is project libraries. So if you open Resolve, you have your homepage, and there are three options. You have your local projects, you have your network projects on a local network, and then you have Cloud. And so if you click on the Cloud tab, that is where you can access shared project libraries. So with Blackmagic Cloud, you have a project server, and a project server can host project libraries. A project library is $5 a library a month. A library can contain many projects inside. I don't know if there's a limit. I'm sure there's some theoretical limit, but we haven't hit it. It can host as many projects that we have seen so far inside a library. So with your project library, when you open up Resolve, you will be able to see the project library on the left side in your panel, and then you can access any project library into it. So a project library is where you can share access to that project library. You share access to the library. Whoever has access to the library has access to every project inside the library. So that's really where the differentiation would come of choosing if you want to create a new project library and how you want to separate your libraries. It basically really depends on access, because whoever has access to a library can access all of the projects in it. So that might come down to separating project libraries by clients or different projects where you might need to separate access of who can access what. Besides that, they're all pretty much the same. And anytime you want to add a project library, it's just $5 a month per library. When you do create a project library, you also do have the option of where you want the server to be hosted. So depending on where your team is based or where the majority of people will be accessing the project library, you can choose the geographic location that makes the most sense, that's kind of closest to everyone on the team, which helps improve speed of loading the project. And so also the thing with project libraries, it works with both the free and studio versions of Resolve. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, as far as having people with different versions of the software accessing the same shared project. But you could do project libraries, cloud project libraries, regardless of what version of Resolve you have. So that is the core, easiest way of how you can collaborate on a project. You can have a shared project, multiple people can work in it at the same time. A little bit later in this video, we'll break down what that actually looks like, but that is the baseline feature of how you can share project libraries. All right, so now the other monthly offering from Blackmagic is their cloud file storage. And this is what really sold me on Resolve and what convinced me to switch everything over. All right, so cloud project libraries are a great way for multiple people to join and access and edit inside the same Resolve project. The challenge here, though, is that everyone has to have a copy of the files they're working with separately. They either have to transfer the files themselves, copy the hard drives over, or figure out some way where everyone has access to the same media files. I will say the one thing that Blackmagic is good at is if I have the files on a hard drive and I point and connect the files to my hard drive on my computer, someone else that accesses the project file, wherever they point the media to on their hard drive, it will remember that and recognize that, okay, this person on this computer, the files are stored in this hard drive. This person, these same files are stored on this hard drive. So it is good at that, but you do have to manage the files yourselves in order for everyone to have access to the same files. Now there is a new-ish solution from Blackmagic that makes this a lot easier, and that is Blackmagic's cloud storage. So Blackmagic introduced a new cloud file storage. It is their own file hosting storage and integrates directly with Resolve. And it is basically an easy way to either automatically upload all the original files if you want to pay for that space, or just automatically upload proxy files of everything that gets imported. And now anyone who accesses that cloud project in Resolve, it will automatically download everything on the cloud storage into their local storage wherever they set. In most use cases and what we're using it for, it will just automatically download the proxy. So I import footage, it automatically makes proxies. Someone else on the team opens that project. In real time, they're starting to get the proxies downloaded to their computer. It all automatically synchronizes. They don't have to do anything. They just open their computer, pops up, synchronizes, the media is there. They can see the proxies, they can start editing. It just works. And that's really been the game changer that has changed a lot of things for us in making collaborative editing inside a powerful NLE a whole lot easier. So I'll break down in a bit more detail of how this actually works and how the different computers should be set up when you are joining a cloud project library and setting up cloud storage. But just as an overview, the pricing wise, it is basically $15 a month per 500 gigabytes. It comes in options of either $15 a month for 500 gigabytes, $60 a month for 2 terabytes, and then you can add more storage from there as you want. And now also just one thing to note too, getting whatever plan you get, it does include one project library. That was the thing we just talked about. That was $5 a month. So you get that included. If you want to add more project libraries, it's $5 a month. You can just add it on top of it. And it includes 20 presentations, which is something we'll talk about later in the video as well. And you can add up to 30 members to your account. The cloud file storage is also where the camera integration comes in. If you're using Blackmagic's camera app on your iPhone or one of the newer cameras that now have direct internet integration, this is where all of the cloud streaming features come into play, either recording and automatically uploading proxies. It will go to Blackmagic's cloud storage, or even their brand new feature that they just announced where you can stream in real time while you're recording and start getting footage inside your Resolve project in real time and start editing while cameras are still recording. And so again, just to clarify, this all is just involving the small monthly fees that you're paying for Blackmagic's cloud storage. This does not involve any of the hardware that Blackmagic has that came out a year or two ago. We've just been using our own hard drives, our own storage. We don't have any of Blackmagic Cloud's hardware storage. This is all just in the cloud using Blackmagic cloud integration, cloud storage. All right, so now that I've broken down Blackmagic's cloud offerings, we got the cloud project libraries, we've got the cloud storage. Let me break down how this comes into play, of how we've been using it, and a little quirks and stuff we figured out with the workflow. And also just to frame what we're using, we are currently using DaVinci Resolve 19 beta version 3. And as the versions have come out, it has ironed out some kinks and stuff that we had with proxies and stuff syncing. And I imagine that will only get better as new versions come out and as 19 exits being a beta and is a full-fledged version. Also, if you're not using 19 and you're using 18 or 18.5, some things I'm going to talk about might not be available. I'm not entirely sure what 18 has since we're new to Resolve and only really used 19. I don't know what 18 has. It might not have the things that I talk about. So if you're like, where is this thing? It could be because you are not on one of the latest betas. All right, so you make a new project inside a cloud project library, and then the first time you open that project, it's going to ask you some questions, and it's going to ask this for anytime anyone who opens the project for the first time. I think it's going to ask them the same questions. All right, the first one is going to be, where do you want to store your Resolve media? So this is going to be, where do you want to store the media that the folder that is syncing with the cloud. So whether you are uploading stuff, it's making the proxies and putting them there and uploading, or if you're receiving files, this is going to be the folder that you sync with. So it could either be somewhere local on your computer, or if you don't have enough storage or need more storage, it could be an external hard drive. But that's going to be where the cloud synchronizes to keep all of your local files. Then it's going to ask you what you want to upload to the cloud. If you don't want to upload anything, if you just want to upload proxies, or if you want to upload proxies and originals. And now this is where things got slightly confusing for us the first time around when we were setting up our workflow. And also, once we figured it out, this is also a really, really cool thing that Blackmagic does that solves a lot of headaches. So the way I like to think about this is you should have something that you sort of designate as like your A computer, your main computer, the computer that's going to be the one that imports all of the main original files. So like in our case, let's say we're doing like a YouTube video, or we're doing like NAB interviews or a bunch of footage and stuff. there's going to be one computer that's going to be uploading or importing the bulk of the original files. The like gigabytes and gigabytes or terabytes of raw files are going to be imported through one of these computers. That one you definitely want to say just upload the proxies to the cloud. So every time you import something into that project, it will automatically render a proxy. You can go into your settings and adjust what the proxy settings are if you want to tweak them from the default. It'll make the proxies, store the proxies in a folder next to the media, and then upload those proxies to the cloud. And now anytime someone else joins, those proxies will automatically download to the computer. So you've got the main computer, but here's where things really get cool. When you have other people from your team who, let's say your editor or some additional editors or motion graphics, people who they just need to work with the footage, are not actually going to be importing a lot of footage. When they open the project for the first time, you want them to say upload originals and proxy. At first, I was like, no, we just want everyone to do proxies. We don't want to deal with originals because I don't want them to have to download all the original media. But that's not the case. It only really applies to when you import something, what do you want to happen to that? So with the main computer, we just want that to deal with proxies. But lots of times, you have another editor and they're editing the footage, but then there's always those little bits of like extra files that they need to bring in, like some music or some graphics or an image that they capture online or a screenshot. It's always those little random files that the editors add to make the video better. But then when the other person opens the project locally to connect it to the original media, you always have that issue of like offline stuff like, oh, hey, editor, you added this file, I'm missing this file, send me that file. I gotta like add it to my drive to like reconnect it. When originals are selected, when the editor now adds their own media, that gets uploaded to the cloud. And then when I load the project, it downloads that original media file, stores it on the cloud folder that I have for where my media should be stored. And now I have the original media file and the proxy file that was also created on my computer locally. I don't have to worry about the editor sending original media files separately every time they add or import something. So that's huge. That's an awesome game changer in just making all those little bits of disappearing files a whole lot easier and virtually non-existent. All right, and then a couple other settings. When you're opening your project, you have a checkbox if you want to allow multiple users to simultaneously access and work inside this project at the same time. We always have that checked on. That's kind of the point of what we're looking for with the collaboration. But for some reason, you just wanted it to be a cloud project that has all the benefits we just talked about, but not allow multiple people to have it open at the same time. You can uncheck that, but there are safeguards in place to allow multiple people to be in the project at the same time, which I'll talk about right after this section. So I'm not 100% sure why you want to uncheck this. It's kind of the point of the collaboration, but if you don't want to have it, it's an option. You can turn it off. So only one person is allowed in the project at one time. And then lastly, you can check if you want this specific project to show up as an option for remote cameras to upload footage or upload proxies to. So if you use the Blackmagic camera app or one of the other cameras, when you log into the cloud, it'll show you a list of like, hey, what projects do you want the media to go to? You have to make sure that the project is turned on to show up on that list in order for it to show up if you're trying to stream stuff from your camera to your project. All right, and yeah, those are pretty much the main settings. And then just to recap, think of it as having your main computer that uploads all the original footage that's just set to proxies only. And then all of your other computers, your editors, remote team, have them set to proxy and original. So anytime they upload an additional file or so, it will automatically upload that original file to the cloud. And then the main computer will have all of the original media. So when it is ready to do the exporting, it's got all the files there. All right, and so now let's break down how collaboration actually works when you are inside a cloud project where collaboration is turned on. Multiple people can be inside the project at the same time. So basically, it is a first come, first serve kind of deal. As soon as someone opens a timeline, that timeline is now locked from anyone else editing it. People can open the timeline as a read only if they need to copy something out or just check the cut, but you can't make any changes to it. Whoever has it opened, that timeline's locked. They're working inside it, and no one else can change it. You'll see a little icon with the person's initials next to a timeline that they have open, so you can kind of see who has that open, or if they forgot to close it out and left it open, you can see who has permission to access it right now. But it's basically whoever opens it first, they can work on it, and no one else can change it. Same thing with bins. Anytime someone has a bin open, they can change the metadata, they can edit the files inside the bin. The bin is locked, no one else can make changes to the bin. Same deal, initials will show up next to the bin of who has access to it. No one else can change it. People can read from it. You can pull files from it. You just can't make any changes to it. Now, because there's also a lot of things happening quickly with multiple people, cloud projects are set to automatically save by default every time something happens. So as soon as someone does anything inside the Cloud project, it automatically saves that project and synchronizes it with everyone else. Now, a few other cool things inside a Cloud project. There is a chat feature, so you can have a chat with other people inside the project, especially for issues like, hey, I need to access that timeline, please close out of it. The one thing about the chat, though, is it doesn't save a history. If someone was logged on, left a message, and then they logged off, and then you open the app, you won't see any persistent history or any messages in the past, but I kind of wish that that was there just in case someone wanted to leave a note before they log off. The chat only really appears when you're all logged on or whoever you're talking to is logged on at the same time. That's really the only way that the chat has worked for now. Maybe they will update that or fix that. Also, you can see who is inside the project in real time. There's a list, you can see who's inside the project. And then the coolest thing that I like is you can see a status of Blackmagic Cloud. It's a nice little pop-up, and it gives you a lot of information about how much storage you're using on the cloud, how much storage the specific project is using, what files are being generated into proxies, what the upload status of those proxies are. So you get a really, really great overview of what's happening with the cloud. And then inside the media pool, you can also see the status of what clips have been made proxies, what clips have been uploaded to the cloud, and get a really good overview of just where everything is as far as if it's on the cloud or not on the cloud. All right, and there are some other features inside Blackmagic Cloud that are worth talking about. That main one is presentations. So presentations it's basically like a Frame.io alternative-ish, I think. I'm still digging into what exactly presentations can do, if it can just generate a share link that you can send to anyone and they can review it and leave notes like you do with Frame or Vimeo or other review tool websites. I'm not 100% sure yet. So we're still digging into that one. But I also do know that it does go beyond being able to upload a cut and solicit feedback and notes from people. There is a real-time live session where you could have Resolve open and stream the video output over the internet, and people can chat and communicate and have a video chat or audio chat in real time. I just want to give an overview. It is a thing. It exists. In the pricing earlier that I mentioned, you do get 20 presentations included if you get a Blackmagic Cloud storage plan, and then you could purchase additional presentations. I'll do a deeper dive into presentations because I'm still figuring it out. It's one of those things where it's like, I'll figure that out later. We'll just keep uploading stuff to Frame for now. But I know it's there. It seems kind of interesting. Also because if people leave notes there, it seems like another no-brainer where people are leaving marker notes, that those would instantly integrate in your timeline right away, any feedback or annotations. So gonna dig into that more, but it's there, it's a thing. It could possibly replace Frame.io depending on how you're using it, or also help replace if you're doing any screen sharing, live streaming into Zoom to have remote real-time collaborative sessions. It might be a replacement for that as well. So let's be aware of it, but we'll do a deeper dive in that in the future. All right, and then lastly, I did mention this earlier in the video, but I just want to come back to it. Everything we've talked about, you can do it in the free version of Resolve and also the paid pro version of Resolve Studio. All the cloud collaboration features work in both versions, and you can also have people with different versions of the software opening the same cloud project files-ish. We've done it. It can be done. I did talk to Blackmagic about this at Cinegear, and they did say you can technically do it, but they would recommend that everyone is on the same version of Resolve when they are working in cloud projects to prevent weirdness from happening. You will also hit issues of, depending on how complicated the project file gets, of if something is being used that is a studio feature only. So one example is transcripts you can only do in studio software. So even though I can transcribe, I have the studio version, I can transcribe one of the files. If someone else who has the free version has it, even if they try to just look at the transcript, they'll get a pop-up saying this is a studio feature. You have to have the studio software to access transcripts. That's a basic one because it's not on the edit. We haven't really done a lot of heavy VFX type stuff using filters and plugins that are only studio plugins. So I'm not 100% sure what happens if you're working in the timeline with someone with the free version with an effect that has a studio version. So it's possible. Blackmagic recommends just keeping everyone on the same version. And honestly, it is a flat $300 purchase price, one-time purchase price. So that's not that bad. to add on other people. But speaking of adding on other people, that does lead to Blackmagic's new way to manage the cloud, and that is organizations. So this year at NAB, Blackmagic rolled out Blackmagic Cloud Organizations, and it's basically all the same exact features we just talked about in Blackmagic Cloud, but now you can create an organization and it's just easier management for managing everyone inside the organization, whether it's full-time people or freelancers or whoever. You can add different users. They do have to have a Blackmagic account already, but you can make that for free. You just create an account on Blackmagic's website. So you can add them, you can create teams and add people to the team, so then you can just grant a team access to a project library. Same management type thing where whoever has access to a project library has access to everything in that project. So you might want to make multiple project libraries for different clients or however you want to separate your access. And then same cloud storage pricing, same presentation options. Obviously, you can do more users. The one cool thing that you can do with organizations is if you add someone who does not have DaVinci Resolve Studio, you can rent a license for them. So it is basically $1 a day, $30 a month. You can rent a license for them. Obviously, if they're going to be using it for more than 10 months, you might as well just buy a license for them. And the other cool thing with organizations is if someone already has DaVinci Resolve Studio, they already have the paid version, when you add them to your organization, it recognizes that they have Studio. It's not like you have to pay an extra fee or anything on top of that. If they already bought it, if they already own Studio, if you add them to your organization, it recognizes it. The one thing that you can do that is slightly different inside organizations is you can either create a project library using Blackmagic's servers, same thing that we just went through where you could pick where you want your server hosted, $5 a month per library, same deal. But then you also have an option to pretty much bring your own storage. I was a little fuzzy. I was trying to get a little bit more information about what this option meant. But I believe if you already have your own S3 buckets, like an AWS bucket or a Google Cloud Storage bucket, you could bring your own storage and connect it to Blackmagic Cloud. It starts at $100 a month. And you could bring your own storage on board if you wanted to use your own storage, I think. It is an option. That was sort of the explanation I got from Blackmagic, but I'm not entirely sure if that was it. They're like, it's very new. We're still figuring it out. But I believe that is what it is. If you want to bring your own storage, you can do that as well. Now, one thing we did recently go through, and I expect if anyone who has been using cloud but wants to switch to organization because you get better management options, is transitioning over from what's now called personal. The person, if you created a Blackmagic Cloud account and had people on that Blackmagic Cloud, that's now called personal. It's tied to your personal identity. Moving projects over from the personal to the organization. There's no easy transfer way. Basically, you just have to export the projects from your personal cloud and then re-import them into your new organization cloud. And basically, we are kind of double paying right now because we are paying for the personal storage and project libraries on my personal account. And now I'm paying for the storage and libraries on the organization account as I transition stuff over, but there's no easy just like, hey, I just want to convert this. You gotta like manually copy everything over. And now, Blackmagic Cloud's hardware. If you remember, Blackmagic Cloud does have a lot of hardware options, from an 80 terabyte NAS to a couple of smaller storage options to one that you can connect to your computer and just literally connect to your own storage option, and it turns it into a network storage device area for your office or home or whatever. Where does that fit in? Because everything we have talked about has involved no Blackmagic Cloud hardware. It's all just been their monthly subscription options directly through their website and hardware, and we're just using our own storage. So really, I did ask Blackmagic this. Really, the only kind of use cases that you might want storage, I thought of another one too, but there's really kind of two use cases that I can see. And if you can think of more or see more or using their hardware and see other options, please let me know in the comments. But really, the one main one is if you do have a team that is like partly local in the same office space and then also partly remote, and then you do want a easy to use shared storage for everyone locally in the office, and you want that NAS that's easy to use, Blackmagic has a good option for that. Their stuff's pretty easy to set up, has easy management software. You can plug in a TV and get that cool data display of everything that's happening on the NAS. So yeah, if you are doing stuff with multiple users in the same physical place, the hardware could still be extremely useful to what you're doing. And just as a quick rundown of how the Blackmagic Cloud hardware works, because it does a lot of the same things we just talked about, it's just uses a different cloud service as the intermediary. So basically it would either connect to Dropbox or Google Drive. It would make the proxies on the machine, upload the proxies to one of those cloud storage services, and then download the proxies to someone else who had another piece of cloud hardware, something that was like a little bit smaller or more portable. If you still want to do that and you don't want to commit to paying monthly subscription fees, I could see that as another option, even though you would still have to pay Dropbox or Google Drive to do this too. So you're still paying monthly subscription fees. Maybe you're doing less. So yeah, then I don't know, maybe that one doesn't work either. If you're doing, I mean, the only other thing I think of is if you're doing a really large project with tons of files, terabytes of stuff, where even the proxies are going to be gigabytes big, terabytes big, maybe the hardware is still the better way to go. And then I don't know, lastly, for security reasons, but again, you still have to use some cloud intermediary service no matter what. So yeah, I don't know. If you have another use case for the cloud hardware, I'd love to hear about it. All right, so I hope this pretty much gave you a good, thorough overview of all of the different options of Blackmagic Cloud and how you can set up remote collaboration projects. It's really been a game changer for us and making things run a lot faster and smoother and being able to work in real time across with multiple editors. I do have a wish list of things that I hope they add in the future. So first one, that would be really great is being able to selectively upload original files. So as I mentioned, you log into the project, you only have a choice of you're either only uploading proxies or only uploading originals. And that's cool when you're editing and you're doing the offline edit. Proxies, that's all you need. But part of the whole kind of spiel and pitch of Resolve is not just editing, but obviously color, the origin of the software, and being able to not only have editors work in the same project, but have animators, motion graphics work in Fusion, and have colorists work in color, and being able to do all of this, and sound mix in Fairlight, being able to do all of this in the same project simultaneously at the same time. However, I don't really want a colorist, if I'm bringing a colorist on, to be coloring off the proxies. So I also don't want to have to send them all of the original files. So if I was able to just click on a timeline and say, hey, only upload the original files that are used in this timeline to the cloud, that'd be awesome. You can kind of do that now, where if you wanted to export the timeline and conform it and export the media only associated with that timeline, you could do that. But then you still have to upload the media separately. And, it's the same back and forth that we've been doing for years. So if there was a way to just be like, I just want these original files uploaded to the cloud, but then, everything else stays proxy, that would be great. That's like kind of top of my list of like things that I wish we could do. Also, I just wish we had a little bit more control over managing the files that are being stored on the cloud. We have had issues of just like stuff not syncing, or not 100% sure like why it isn't showing up, or original files not syncing that we are like they should be syncing. Why are the original files not syncing? And there's no really good way to like push it, like manually force it to be like, hey, go to the cloud, please, like go. It could be part of the beta process. It could be just some kinks or bugs or whatever. But yeah, I wish there was a little bit more control over what files and what version of those files, proxy versus original, are going up, besides just a blanket like it's all proxies or it's all originals. And then speaking of an easier way to manage the stuff on the cloud, this one is a little bit more of a pipe dream, but it would be nice if there was some web interface for media pool inside a project. Blackmagic has a lot of really interesting, useful AI features inside that can help analyze and sort footage. It's got transcription. Everyone's got that now, but it's got that. But it also has speaker identification, and you can have persistent speakers throughout the entire project and track who's saying what. And it has facial recognition, so you can analyze all the faces in the project, tag the people, and then look for footage with that person. That's very useful stuff that is useful for people not inside the editing project. And you can go to our video that we have about utility AI and all that stuff, and Strata and other programs, media management programs that are kind of trying to tackle this or argue that like people should not be buried inside the editing program, like transcripts and stuff like that shouldn't be in the editing program. So if there was a web interface to access the kind of stuff that you can see in the media pool, but without the person having to use Resolve, because also Resolve is like, It's got a bit of a learning curve. That'd be awesome. It can kind of start trickling into digital asset management territory with people being able to like just access a web portal to see what's happening inside a project and what's available, search transcripts, search faces through the web. That'd be awesome. That one's a bit more of a pipe dream. The one I really want is like, please let's just selectively upload original clips to the cloud. That'd be awesome. So yeah, that is the overview of what we know right now about Blackmagic's cloud service. This is all changing pretty quickly too, and they're always updating stuff as well. So if you're watching this video, stuff might have changed since then. And again, we were working in DaVinci Resolve 19 Studio Beta version 3. So as new versions come out, stuff might be fixed, changed, improved, more stable. But yeah, let me know if there's something I didn't cover, something you want me to dive into more. This is very interesting. I've always been really interested in figuring out collaborative workflows. DaVinci Resolve has been the most seamless that I've used so far for a professional high-end level nonlinear editor. There are new cloud editing programs coming out there. Lots of things are shifting to like cloud only. I know that's going to be a huge growth area in the future. We've talked to some of those companies at NAB. We've got videos with them, Cutting Room, Scenery. They've got really interesting stuff where everything is completely working on the cloud. Huge shift in collaboration. But as far as desktop software, powerful stuff where we know we're not going to have any limits of like features, Resolve has been the best collaborative structure built out that we have seen so far. So anyways, let me know what you think. Let me know if you got more questions. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.